Deep within the cold void, NASA captured a historic cosmic photograph from a staggering distance of 6 billion kilometers. This authentic image, known to history as the pale blue dot, forced astronomer Carl Sagan to declare our home planet a lonely speck of dust in the immense enveloping dark. This disturbing visual evidence exposes human insignificance, driving astrophysics toward a single fundamental question: how big is the universe? New discoveries from modern equipment now reveal that our entire observable sky is merely a fractional prison cell within a terrifying, multi-dimensional web. This definitive science documentary uncovers the shocking reality of absolute space. What they saw next would change everything we thought we knew. To comprehend the true structure of reality, we must first break the psychological illusions of closeness that bind us to our immediate cosmic environment. Human perception is fundamentally flawed, calibrated only to the tiny geography of a single terrestrial home. We look up at the night sky and perceive neighboring worlds as simple, reachable points of light. But the mathematical reality of the solar system tells a vastly more isolating story. This detailed space exploration blueprint begins at our nearest celestial companion, the Moon. Located at an average distance of 384,000 kilometers from our surface, this neighboring world feels intimately connected to human history. However, this proximity is a dangerous misconception born from planetary perspective. To contextualize this expanse using mundane terrestrial metrics, consider a standard commercial automobile traveling at a continuous, unchanging speed of 100 kilometers per hour. If a highway existed to bridge this dark atmospheric gulf, it would take a human driver more than 160 days of non-stop, uninterrupted driving to reach the lunar surface. From that distant vantage point, our entire planet appears only as a fragile, lonely sphere cradled by absolute darkness. Moving beyond this initial threshold, we encounter the central anchor of our cosmic neighborhood, the Sun. The distance from our planet to this roaring fusion engine establishes the fundamental measuring stick for astronomy, known formally as 1 astronomical unit. This single unit represents approximately 150 million kilometers of empty, radiation-filled vacuum. The scale of this separation defies normal human experiences, forcing astrophysics to rely on the fastest cosmic constant, the speed of light. Traveling at an astonishing velocity of 300,000 kilometers per second, a single photon emitted from the solar surface requires a full 8 minutes and 20 seconds to cross this gulf and strike the Earth. If we attempt to cross this same 1 astronomical unit using current human aviation technology, a commercial jet airliner flying at a constant speed of 900 kilometers per hour would require exactly 19 years of continuous flight to complete the journey. The incredible emptiness contained within our immediate solar system begins to warp our understanding of space, exposing the vast, uninhabited deserts that separate the islands of matter. This mechanical reality becomes even more chaotic and terrifying as we extend our gaze toward our mysterious red neighbor, Mars. Unlike the stable distances inside our earthly boundaries, the gap between Earth and Mars is a dynamic, shifting enigma ruled by orbital mechanics. Due to the eccentric, independent paths both planets trace around the central sun, the physical separation between our two worlds is constantly expanding and contracting. At their absolute closest mutual approach, known as opposition, the distance shrinks to approximately 54,600,000 kilometers. However, as the cosmic carousel spins and the planets drift to opposite sides of the solar system, this gulf stretches violently across the void, reaching a maximum distance of 401 million kilometers. This immense unstable fluctuation creates profound logistical nightmares for the National Space Agency, transforming every unmanned mission into a high-stakes calculation of physics. The planetary robotic rovers sent by NASA do not follow simple straight lines, but must embark on complex, curving trajectories designed to intercept a moving target across millions of kilometers of changing vacuum. A mathematical error of a fraction of a percent during this transit results in permanent operational failure, casting multi-million-dollar machines into the endless darkness. This is the brutal reality of our local environment, an unforgiving landscape where simple distance acts as a physical barrier against human ambition. What would you feel if you saw this with your own eyes? This profound cosmic isolation is not an anomaly, but the defining characteristic of our universe, a clear science-explained truth that humbles every human achievement. Every boundary we cross reveals only a deeper, more unsettling wilderness waiting to be mapped, an expanding abyss that grows significantly worse as we pass the outer gas giants. Beyond the freezing orbit of Neptune, the very concept of human scale completely dissolves into nothingness, leaving our current technical achievements obsolete against the black galactic sea. To understand the terrifying scale of physical distance, we must leave behind all familiar planetary beacons and track the loneliest artifact created by human hands. In the historic year of 1977, the National Space Agency launched a specialized robotic probe known as Voyager 1. This mechanical explorer was designed to perform close flybys of the outer gas giants, capturing valuable photographic records before drifting indefinitely into the uncharted cold of interstellar space. Decades later, this small vehicle continues to execute an epic journey that defines the absolute limits of human engineering. Official science telemetry data officially updated by NASA confirms that this quiet wanderer has crossed a monumental threshold, traveling more than 24,800,000,000 kilometers away from its planetary birthplace. At this extreme separation, human existence resembles a fading dream. The robotic vessel currently holds the definitive world record as the most distant artificial object operating in deep space, which translates to a constant velocity of 17 kilometers in every single second. It transmits data using a fragile transmitter powered by less than 23 watts of electricity, a signal so faint that it requires more than 23 hours to travel across the vast vacuum and reach our ground stations. As this pioneer moves further into the unknown, it forces astrophysics to confront the invisible physical boundaries that divide our cosmic domain from the rest of the galaxy. For billions of years, the Sun has protected its planetary family by emitting a continuous stream of charged particles known to science as the solar wind. This energetic radiation creates a massive magnetic bubble that wraps around the entire solar neighborhood, guarding it against destructive interstellar cosmic rays. However, this protective bubble possesses a definitive physical terminal point. At a distance far beyond the outer gas giants, our star reaches its limit. This terminal boundary zone is recognized by contemporary researchers as the heliopause. At this critical cosmic junction, the outgoing pressure of the solar wind slows down and comes to a complete, violent stop as it collides directly with the dense, cold hydrogen gas of the interstellar medium. When Voyager 1 officially pierced this threshold, it entered an unshielded galactic wilderness. Behind this invisible plasma curtain, the direct energy and warmth of our parent star ceased to dominate physical reality. The spacecraft has effectively escaped the magnetic embrace of home, yet it is still trapped inside a massive gravitational cage. This final enclosure is a theoretical cosmic structure known to global astronomy as the Oort Cloud. Representing the ultimate outer boundary of our celestial system, this colossal domain is a massive, spherical shell composed of billions of icy remnants left over from the violent creation of the planets 4.5 billion years ago. These frozen objects drift through a perpetual dark age, barely held by the weak gravitational pull of the central star. The physical layout of this frozen shell is so immense that it completely reshapes our understanding of volume. Advanced supercomputer modeling suggests that the inner edge of this structure begins thousands of astronomical units away, while the outer boundary extends across a vast expanse, reaching up to 100,000 astronomical units from the solar center. This spatial distance is equivalent to approximately 1.9 light-years of empty vacuum, or nearly 19 trillion kilometers of absolute emptiness. For context, if an interstellar expedition attempted to cross this icy perimeter using standard rocket propulsion, the transit would require tens of thousands of years of continuous movement. This cold perimeter marks the absolute geographical limit of our solar backyard, a cosmic wall of ice that locks our world inside a localized cage. But this terrifying emptiness was only a prelude to a much grander scale, an expanding abyss where the very concept of borders becomes entirely meaningless as we drift into the galactic matrix. Escaping the frozen boundaries of our immediate solar neighborhood does not bring a sense of liberation, but instead exposes the mind to a crushing reality where the scale of emptiness becomes a mathematical nightmare. As our observation leaves behind the frozen remnants of the outermost icy shell, we enter the absolute void of true interstellar space. The nearest neighboring stellar system to our Sun is a triple-star cluster known to global astronomy as Alpha Centauri. To understand the profound breakdown of human scaling, one must look at the raw distances separating these local stellar islands. Alpha Centauri is located at a distance of approximately 41,300,000,000,000 kilometers away from Earth. Inside this terrifying expanse, the standard astronomical unit, which served as a convenient measuring stick across millions of kilometers inside our system, completely loses all practical meaning and scientific value. Measuring interstellar voids with astronomical units requires numbers so unsustainably large that advanced astrophysics is forced to transition to a much grander metric based on the ultimate speed limit of the universe, the light year. This system defines distance by the total geography. A single particle of light can cross in one full terrestrial year, which equals nearly 9.5 trillion kilometers. Using this massive cosmic ruler, the distance to Alpha Centauri is officially classified as 4.4 light years. To translate this metric into the physical reality of human travel, we can calculate the flight path of our most advanced functional interstellar pioneer. If the Voyager 1 spacecraft were redirected perfectly toward this neighboring star cluster, moving at its current unyielding velocity of 17 kilometers per second, the math reveals an unsettling truth. It would take this human machine more than 70,000 years of continuous flight through the pitch-black void just to reach this closest stellar neighbor. This staggering duration means that if our earliest Stone Age ancestors had launched a deep space vessel at the dawn of human migration, that machine would still be drifting through the empty darkness today, far short of its destination. The sheer physical scale of the interstellar vacuum acts as an absolute quarantine zone, isolating stellar systems inside islands of impenetrable silence. This unforgiving separation forms the backdrop for a much more terrifying realization regarding the absolute limits of human communication within the vast cosmic ocean. Our entire modern civilization, with all its grand history, technological achievements, and loud presence, is trapped inside a tiny, expanding structural anomaly known as the human radio bubble. This concept defines the maximum geographical boundary of humanity's signature in the cosmos. Ever since the historic advent of high-power commercial radio, television broadcasts, and military radar systems in the early 20th century, our planet has been leaking electromagnetic radiation out into deep space. These radio waves do not stop at our atmosphere, but rush outward in all directions at the absolute speed of light. Because these organized signals have been traveling through the vacuum for roughly 100 years, the physical human radio bubble currently forms a fragile sphere extending exactly 100 light-years in all directions from our planet. This sphere represents the absolute maximum reach of our species. Inside this local bubble, the universe technically holds a record of our existence, carrying the faint echoes of our history, our voices, and our greatest scientific discoveries across the local interstellar medium. However, when this factual data is viewed against the staggering dimensions of our home galaxy, a profound existential dread completely paralyzes the human ego. The Milky Way Galaxy is an immense, spinning disk of stars spanning a diameter of at least 100,000 light-years. This means our radio footprint is an undetectable microscopic point, a fractional speck hidden within an ocean of hundreds of billions of alien suns. Beyond the thin perimeter of this 100 light-year bubble, the galaxy remains completely oblivious to our presence. The math proves that if a highly advanced civilization possessed powerful planetary telescopes just 101 light-years away from us, they would look at Earth and see an undisturbed, quiet wilderness. completely devoid of technology. Every broadcast, every war, and every human life is reduced to a silent whisper that has not yet reached the shore. If alien life exists across the thousands of uncharted star clusters in the deep galactic disk, they are entirely blind to our existence, separated from us by walls of time and space that our signals may never pierce. We are profoundly, terrifyingly alone in a silent universe. The cosmic perspective humbles our understanding of reality as we transition from the invisible boundary of our radio footprint to the colossal anatomy of our home galaxy, the Milky Way. This immense spiral stellar system represents a sprawling stellar metropolis spanning a staggering diameter of at least 100,000 light-years across the void. Within this massive, rotating disk of cosmic gas, dust, and energy, there reside anywhere from 100 billion to 400 billion individual stars, each potentially acting as a gravitational anchor for hundreds of billions of independent planetary systems. Our solar system is merely a microscopic resident, situated roughly 26,000 light-years away from the chaotic galactic center, where supermassive black holes exert an unyielding gravitational grip on surrounding matter. Looking at this immense structural masterpiece, humans naturally feel a sense of grand structural awe, assuming that the visible matter we see through our advanced telescopes is the primary force holding this entire system together. Yet, when astrophysicists compute the rotational velocity of these billions of stars, the math uncovers a profound structural crisis that shatters our fundamental assumptions about galactic stability. According to classical laws of physics, stars orbiting at the distant outer edges of spiral galaxies should move much slower than those crowded near the dense galactic core, similar to how distant planets in our solar system travel slower than those close to the Sun. However, precise measurements reveal that stars at the extreme perimeter of the Milky Way rotate at nearly the exact same blistering speed as stars near the center. Based on the amount of visible matter available, these outer stars are moving so fast that they should be violently thrown out into the empty void of intergalactic space, tearing the galaxy apart. The visible material within stars, gas clouds, and planets only accounts for a shocking 5% of the total mass and energy density of the universe. To explain why the galaxy remains intact, cosmology introduces an invisible, undetected component known as dark matter, which constitutes approximately 27% of the universal density. This mysterious substance does not emit, absorb, or reflect light, making it completely invisible to every telescope ever created. Yet it exerts a massive gravitational pull. It acts as an invisible gravitational net, or scaffold, creating a dense halo that wraps around the galaxy and provides the extra gravitational binding energy required to hold these outer stars in their stable orbits against the immense outward pull of their rotational momentum. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Am I the only one who finds this unsettling? This phantom scaffold does not merely govern individual galaxies, but serves as the structural foundation for the entire macroscopic universe. In the grand cosmic web, dark matter dictates where ordinary matter can accumulate and grow over billions of years. During the earliest epochs following the Big Bang, the gravity of dark matter pulled ordinary hydrogen gas into dense, intersecting channels, creating the cosmic framework for the birth of the first stars and galaxies. Today, this invisible scaffolding forms a vast, interconnected network of macrostructural filaments stretching across millions of light-years of vacuum. Galaxies are not scattered randomly through the void like isolated dust particles, but are woven directly into these gargantuan filaments, resembling bright beads of light strung along invisible cosmic threads. Where these massive dark matter tethers intersect, immense gravitational wells are created, pulling thousands of independent galaxies together into dense cosmic clusters. This macro structure represents a complex web of attraction and motion, a physical layout so large that even our most advanced commercial aerospace pioneers like SpaceX remain permanently confined to a microscopic fraction of a single pixel within the map. The hidden anatomy of dark matter proves that the universe is not a chaotic, broken void, but a highly structured, invisible masterpiece where the massive objects we can see are entirely supported by a phantom ocean of gravity that we cannot comprehend, a tension that deepens as we look past our local galactic cluster toward the largest structures in existence. The cosmic architecture expands to a scale that entirely breaks human intuition as our observation moves beyond the boundaries of individual galaxies and enters the gargantuan networks of intergalactic space. Our home galaxy does not drift aimlessly through the void, but is pinned by gravity inside a dense cosmic neighborhood known to contemporary science as the local group. This specific gravitationally bound cluster represents a diverse assembly composed of more than 50 independent galaxies, dominated primarily by the massive structures of the Milky Way and the neighboring Andromeda Galaxy, alongside a multitude of smaller satellite dwarf galaxies. The entire structural footprint of the local group stretches across a vast expanse of approximately 10 million light-years of empty vacuum. The distances separating these galactic islands are so great that a single particle of light requires millions of years just to cross from one perimeter to the other. Yet, this entire local group, which houses our entire history and broadcast footprint, is merely a microscopic pixel situated on the outermost fringe of a vastly superior macrostructure that rules our sector of reality. As we look further out into the cosmic web, the local group reveals itself to be a minor component within the immense matrix of the Virgo Supercluster. This titanic congregation of matter spans an administrative diameter of approximately 110 million light-years, a distance equivalent to 33 megaparsecs in formal astrophysical charting. The Virgo Supercluster is a massive structural empire, holding thousands of individual member galaxies and dense galactic clusters within its boundaries, all bound together by the invisible threads of cosmic gravity. However, modern mapping data, officially finalized by the international scientific community, shows that even this massive supercluster is not an independent entity. Instead, it is merely a small branch or leaf attached to a colossal galactic watershed known as the Laniakea Supercluster. This incredible structural masterpiece stretches across an incomprehensible boundary of 500 million light-years from end to end. The physical volume of Laniakea is so overwhelming that it encapsulates the total mass density of approximately 100 quadrillion suns. Derived from the traditional Hawaiian language, the name Laniakea translates literally to immense heaven, a linguistic title that perfectly captures the majestic, open structural grid of this gravitational continent. Within the immense boundary of this heaven, all member galaxies, clusters, and superclusters are caught inside a dynamic cosmic web of attraction, sliding along bright rivers of gas and material toward a central destination. This central powerhouse represents a mysterious, hyperdense gravitational anomaly known to cosmology as the Great Attractor. Located at the absolute heart of the Laniakea Supercluster, this cosmic entity exerts an unyielding gravitational pull that drags our galaxy, the entire local group, and all surrounding superclusters toward its coordinates at velocities exceeding millions of kilometers per hour. However, as humanity attempts to observe this central anchor, science is suddenly confronted with an absolute physical barrier that creates total cosmic blindness. The Great Attractor is situated directly along the exact line of sight of our own galactic disk. The dense, thick lanes of star clusters, planetary systems, interstellar gas, and cosmic dust clouds that form the body of the Milky Way completely block our optical view. This blocked cosmic sector is officially classified by global observational astronomy as the zone of avoidance. Because of this permanent obscuration, standard optical telescopes cannot directly image the gargantuan structures generating this localized gravitational cataclysm, forcing science to look blindly into a dark horizon. The mystery deepens further as advanced radio telemetry and cosmic microwave mapping uncover a revolutionary anomaly that challenges our complete map of the universe. Precise positioning data indicates that the massive gravity of the Great Attractor is not the final terminal point of motion. Instead, the entire Laniakea Supercluster, alongside multiple independent neighboring superclusters, is being steadily pulled toward an even larger, completely invisible concentration of mass located far beyond our localized boundaries. This massive, coordinated migration across hundreds of millions of light-years is recognized by contemporary advanced physics as the dark flow. The sheer momentum of this movement suggests that an unmatched, hypermassive structural force exists completely outside the perimeter of our observable sky, hinting at a larger multiverse setup. Humanity is left stranded on a minor planet, looking out through a dusty window into an immense heaven, realizing that our most advanced math is currently blind to the supreme forces pulling us through the dark. The cosmic acceleration forces our understanding of physical reality to collapse entirely as observation leaves behind the immense continental structures of intergalactic gas networks and reaches the absolute frontier of cosmic visibility. This definitive boundary is recognized by modern astrophysical consensus as the observable universe, a giant spherical volume encapsulating every particle of matter, radiation, and light that has possessed sufficient time to travel toward our terrestrial instruments since the dawn of creation. According to precise satellite data gathered from the cosmic microwave background, which represents the oldest fossilized thermal radiation left behind by the Big Bang, the definitive diameter of this visible sphere is officially established at 93 billion light-years across the void. To the uninitiated student of astronomy, this definitive measurement introduces a profound logical contradiction that triggers immediate existential tension. If the fundamental temporal age of the cosmos is mathematically proven to be approximately 13,800 million years old, a conventional mind assumes that the maximum physical radius of space could not possibly exceed 13,800 million light-years, since nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. This simple linear calculation forms a conceptual prison cell that blinds us to the actual mechanics governing the macroscopic architecture of reality. The resolution to this geometric mystery lies within the complex mathematical framework of the general theory of relativity, introducing a phenomenon known to cosmology as the superluminal expansion paradox. To resolve this profound cognitive crisis, science must clarify that the grand scale of our visible horizon is not caused by galaxies flying through static space like conventional ballistic projectiles. Instead, the cosmic framework operates on a completely different mechanical principle. The very fabric of space itself is continuously expanding at every single coordinate point simultaneously. While the laws of modern quantum physics and relativity strictly dictate that no localized particle of matter or information can travel through the vacuum of space at a velocity exceeding the speed of light, there is no physical limit or mechanical restriction on how fast the underlying fabric of space itself can stretch. During the initial inflationary epoch and throughout the subsequent billions of years of cosmic history, the continuous creation of new empty space between distant galactic clusters has accumulated exponentially. This continuous multiplication of spatial volume means that the physical distance between two hyper-distant points can grow at a rate that completely dwarfs the speed limit of light, placing those regions on a permanent trajectory away from our perspective. This relentless stretching of the universal grid does not imply that the galaxies themselves are breaking any mechanical laws of locomotion. Within their localized sectors of the cosmic web, stars, planets, and supermassive black holes remain completely bound by standard gravitational orbits, moving at conventional velocities relative to their immediate environments. It is the vast, dark, intergalactic deserts separating these clusters that are actively expanding, inflating like an elastic membrane. Because this expansion is cumulative over immense distances, the further away a galaxy is situated from our observational post, the more intervening space exists to stretch, causing the apparent recession velocity of that galaxy to increase linearly according to Hubble's law. Once the physical separation between Earth and a distant stellar system exceeds a critical threshold, the accumulated expansion rate of the fabric between them officially surpasses 300,000 kilometers per second. Consequently, the distant galaxy begins to recede from our field of view at a superluminal velocity, moving faster than the fastest photon can travel. This metric of fabric expansion reveals a boundary more terrifying than any black hole, establishing an absolute horizon of permanent isolation across the deep cosmos. This mechanical reality means that the light currently being emitted by stars residing past our localized event horizon is permanently running an impossible race against an expanding track. No matter how many billions of years pass, those photons will never cross the newly generated vacuum to reach our digital sensors, dooming those outer domains to absolute invisibility. Space exploration is fundamentally trapped inside a decaying bubble of perception, a localized island of awareness surrounded by an infinite, rushing ocean of darkness. The mathematics of cosmic expansion forces a total breakdown of human intuition, proving that the vast majority of our universe has already crossed the superluminal threshold, escaping our reach forever. We are not merely standing on a tiny rock looking out at a grand masterpiece. We are locked inside a shrinking room where the walls of physics are actively pulling the stars away from our sight, leaving our species stranded in an ever-growing wilderness of silent, untouchable infinity. The cosmic acceleration past the visible threshold introduces an era of profound isolation, forcing physics to document the permanent death of incoming light across the deepest chasms of reality. Beyond the boundary of 93 billion light-years, the relentless inflation of the cosmic grid achieves a rate of separation so violent that it systematically defeats the fastest messenger in existence. Light waves, emitted from stars residing in ultra-distant galaxies, are continuously struggling to cross a cosmic track that is actively multiplying faster than the photons can travel. As these packets of energy cross billions of light-years of newly generated vacuum, the metric expansion of the universe stretches their physical wavelengths. This cosmic stretching causes the light to shift down toward the lowest energy levels of the electromagnetic spectrum, a definitive observation known to astronomy as extreme cosmological redshift. As distance approaches infinity, this stretching becomes absolute, pulling the light waves out of the visible spectrum, past the infrared domain, and flattening them into infinite wavelengths of zero energy. This mechanical destruction of signal means that thousands of gargantuan galactic clusters are actively fading from our scientific instruments in real time. The stars we can observe today represent a temporary treasury of data that is actively decaying. Future generations of observers situated on our planet will look out into an absolute graveyard of dark vacuum as the light from neighboring superclusters becomes permanently stretched into nothingness, separating our local group from the rest of the cosmos. This architectural reality brings a heavy sense of deep solitude, proving that the observable horizon is a shrinking island of perception trapped inside an ever-expanding, silent wilderness. The physical links connecting our world to the deeper cosmos are being systematically severed by the mechanics of space itself, establishing a terminal horizon where the very concept of cosmic sight is completely defeated by the geometry of the expanding grid. Yet, as the mind confronts this absolute isolation, modern theoretical physics forces a transition from cosmic dread toward a state of total acceptance, driven by the geometric data of our universe. Advanced measurements finalized by satellite arrays mapping the cosmic microwave background confirm that the physical curvature of our cosmic web is exceptionally precise, exhibiting a density parameter that matches a perfectly flat universe. According to foundational equations of general relativity, a cosmic framework that is geometrically flat possesses no internal closure mechanisms or boundary conditions. This mathematical layout proves that the observable horizon is not the absolute end of matter, but merely a localized bubble of visibility. Beyond the perimeter of our perception, the flat fabric of space most likely extends indefinitely through the void, making the real universe potentially infinite in total volume and mass distribution. This infinity hypothesis implies that the 93 billion light-years we can analyze represent a microscopic drop within a vast, boundless ocean of matter that contains countless uncharted superclusters, alien suns, and macrostructural anomalies far beyond our current mathematical reach. The factual reality of a flat cosmos completely alters our position within the grand map of existence. If space is truly infinite, then the laws of probability dictate that the combinations of atomic matter must repeat across the endless expanse, hinting at the factual existence of duplicate cosmic bubbles operating past our horizon. This macrostructural setup bridges the boundary between classical cosmology and the advanced models of the multiverse, suggesting that our visible sky is merely a single cell within a superior, interconnected matrix of physical reality. This scientific data forces a state of total acceptance. Humanity is a minor observer locked inside a localized room of perception, yet our mathematics can accurately compute the architecture of the infinite flatness outside. The fading lines of light are not a symptom of a broken universe, but the clear signature of a dynamic living system that is far too grand to be contained within a single human eye. We accept our microscopic position among the millions of retreating galaxies, knowing that the endless darkness is not empty, but carries the weight of a boundless, untouchable creation ruled by the unyielding laws of physics. Our epic journey across the logarithmic scales of reality brings our perception back to the immediate present, completing a massive circle of understanding that transforms absolute isolation into a profound state of spiritual hope. We began our ascent on a tiny, fragile blue planet, tracing the mechanical trajectories of robotic rovers across millions of kilometers of local vacuum. We followed the lonely path of our furthest artificial Voyager past the protective border of the Sun, watched the human radio bubble shrink into an undetectable point within a spinning disk of billions of stars, and mapped the gargantuan gravitational rivers of the Laniakea Supercluster. Finally, we faced the terrifying superluminal mechanics, expanding the very fabric of space, pushing the ultimate boundary of our visible horizon across 93 billion light-years of flat, potentially infinite infinity. This overwhelming scale frequently triggers deep existential terror, yet the factual data of cosmology offers an incredible resolution that inspires the human spirit. Our physical insignificance is not a mathematical prison cell or a tragic sentence of loneliness, but the ultimate proof of our mental grandeur. Humanity is a young, fragile species born directly from the ancient stellar ash of exploding stars, completely stranded on a minor rock within an unforgiving cosmic desert. Yet, using only the fragile instruments of science and the abstract power of mathematics, this microscopic collection of consciousness has successfully computed the age, the expansion mechanics, and the total diameter of the visible sky. We are the universe actively thinking, a localized spark of awareness decoding the massive architecture of the infinite flatness outside. The universe isn't broken. Our map of it is just incomplete. This realization replaces our primal fear of the dark with a permanent sense of pride and a steady, unyielding desire for space exploration. What do you think? Does this change how you see our place in the cosmos? I'll keep exploring if there's more to uncover. Thanks for watching.